I love to go look myself in the mirror quickly, because it is a moment to truly reflect. Like, as weird as this may sound, it's a tool that you can use where you're truly reflecting. It's a mirror looking back at you. I want you to look in the mirror, take a deep breath. Even if you don't believe it yet, say, I trust you.
Welcome to You Can Trust Yourself with Meg and Maggie. Nothing feels as good as listening to your own voice, and each week we have conversations to help you do just that. Get comfy, grab your favorite fun drink, and let's dive into this week's episode. Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of You Can Trust Yourself. Today we have an episode that we hope is funny, but also is jam-packed with some science, because as you saw by the title, we are trusting ourselves today, of course, like always, but only after a snack and maybe a nap and maybe different things that help our bodies regulate a little bit. So before we get into some funny stories and some science, hi Meg, how are you today?
Hi, I'm well. I'm excited. I was going to say, as you said that, for those of you who are OG listeners, you know that we started off the podcast as like, Meg came from the mental health world, Maggie came from the physical health world, and I feel like in some ways, Maggie, we're doing a little like honoring of that with regulation from both of those places. So I'm very excited about today's episode.
I am too, because we're both going to put our little science hats on and talk about different things that are going on in our body that can impact our ability to trust ourselves, to listen to our intuition, to trust our gut, whatever it feels like for you, right? For me, it's very gut. I talk about that a lot, but for you, it might be a little bit different. And there are things that can get in the way of hearing that. Right. And so we are going to talk about that today. And how this came up was classic Maggie having to make a decision. And I know myself enough at this point to know this literally happened just the other day. I am debating on whether or not I have made the decision at this point live, but a couple of days ago, I'm debating on making an investment in my education, right? In learning something new, in continuing education as a professional. And it's a big decision, right? Of, am I going to spend money on this? Is this the right thing? And I'm talking to my husband about it. And the first words that come out of my mouth are, let's continue talking about this after we eat dinner, right? Because I know that if I'm trying to make a decision before I eat, especially if it's like close to mealtime, I know that my brain we just can't do that well, right? We just can't. It doesn't work. And so at this point, I know that whenever it comes to having tough conversations or making big decisions, they need to happen after I eat some food. But for you, Meg, I'm curious, can you think of a time where you made a decision or were about to make a decision and your physiology maybe wasn't quite ready for it?
I can think of so many, and I kind of want to give you like the all the time ones instead of like a specific one, because then you know that like it's real. It's a pattern. Yes. Meg does this a lot. And that for me tends to be in the morning. For some reason, my mornings, I just can't nail my mornings. My nights are pretty good. Go for a walk, have dinner. They're pretty chill, right? Like sometimes I'll go to a workout class at night. Like nights, we kind of got it together. Mornings, I do not have it together, and I have a hard time getting it together in the morning. And I think a lot of it is because I'm balancing so many things of like, okay, well, if I go work out, but then I got to eat, but then I got to do this, and then what if I do that? And so I get in my head and I have a hard time trusting myself. And it's perfect in real time for this episode that this morning I was trying a slightly different routine just to like try something on and see how I liked it. And I was thinking to myself, like, my mornings get away from me so fast, and then all of a sudden I'm deep in sessions, or I'm on a call, or I'm in a meeting, and I'm like, shit, I haven't eaten anything. I don't feel well. I didn't take my vitamins. I haven't taken my anxiety medication. Like not that that's like a reliant thing, but like my normal rituals of like my vitamins and food and all of the things. I haven't filled up my water bottle. The day starts going, and I start my day feeling unregulated. And so I know you asked for a funny story, and sure, that can be funny, but it's also very real. So it's like relatable of like, oh my God, like, running out the door, coffee in your hand and like nothing else, just like a hope and a prayer, right? Like that's most of my mornings. And I know that I would be able to feel more like grounded and regulated in my day if I started off with myself, trusted myself, had breakfast first thing in the morning, and then went about my day so that I don't feel chaotic throughout the entirety of it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, honestly. Like this is where routines for me are actually really helpful, and I have learned to love just doing the same thing over and over again, because if I don't, it's full on chaos, right? Like there's no like I'll just figure it out, because I don't know about you, when I'm just figuring it out, then that's the same exact thing that you just said, where it's too long since I've eaten. Now I am unable to make a decision, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. Like, have you ever been in a situation? This happens to me way more than I would like to admit. And Cause knows at this point, like he's like, "What can I get you to eat? Like, can I bring you a snack? Like, what do we need here? Because it'll be something silly. Like, what do you want to eat for dinner? Where do you want to go for a walk? Blah, 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 blah." And like externally, I'm like, if you can see me on YouTube, my eyes are just big, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what I want. Every single decision I'm going to make is going to be wrong, and I'm not going to be happy with any of it. And I want this, but I think I want that. But what if I want that? What if that's the wrong decision? What if the other one is the right decision? Like, this is what's going on inside my head, right? And then nothing ends up happening, and then we just spiral from there, right? That's me. And so now Cause knows, and I know too, but he really knows. He's like, can I feed you? Like, can we eat first? That might be good.
That's like the foreplay in your marriage. Is can I feed you? Because I know that we'll have a nicer time. That's the warm
Literally.
up for you.
No, needs to be fed. Needs to
Needs
be
to be
fed.
fed.
Yeah.
I'm kind of having a moment internally of like, oh my gosh, Matt is constantly trying to make me breakfast. Is that because he knows that I'm like a monster if I don't like regulate myself first thing in the morning?
I mean,
I don't know.
could be.
I'm having a moment of reflection here, everybody, but we all know that feeling. And we know what happens when that's how our days go. And it doesn't have to be the morning, but any time that we're just like doing life, but we haven't taken care of ourselves and we haven't taken the time to ask ourselves and trust ourselves with what the heck do I need in these moments of wellness, we feel the cost of them very, very quickly. And I feel them multiple times per week. And I'm still out here, and I think I'm pretty good at trusting myself, hence the podcast that I come on here to try and share some of that knowledge. I'm really good at listening to myself, and it's still hard, especially with the demands and responsibilities of life. So I'm very excited to dive into that. And I wanted to ask you, Maggie, because like I kind of mentioned in the beginning of the episode, we both come from different worlds. We both now in some ways have crossed over into each other's with like physical and mental health and just wellness in general, right? Just health from a very wellness vantage point. And I wanted to ask you though, because I know you can do such a good job of breaking down for us. We know the chaos on the surface of what's happening when we're unregulated, when we're not fed, when we are sleep deprived, whatever it may be. We all know how that feels, where we feel like we're spiraling, we feel crazy, we feel this, we feel that, hangry, if you will, a lot of people will say. And you, though, know a lot of the science of what's really going on physiologically in our bodies. And so I'm really hoping, which I know you will because you're, fabulous and the queen of this, for the everyone listening and our trustees in our community, how the heck is this happening and what's going on at a physiological level for us?
Yeah, I'm going to keep it kind of like overview level and use analogies and things like that. Like, we're not going to get into like scientific words or anything, mostly because I don't feel like it, but I don't feel like we really learn very well that way. So just prefacing that. But you were just describing when everything feels out of control, right? And if you take a moment to think back to the last time that has happened, where you were trying to make a decision and you felt like you couldn't, and then you realized it was because you were hungry or tired, right? Think back to that moment. There is a moment where you feel it flip, right? It's like a switch flips. And this is how it is for me anyway. I'm assuming that other people experience this too. Where you're like, for a while, you're like, I got this. I got it together. I can do it. I can make decisions. And then all of a sudden, there's 1 second where you're like, actually, I'm a monster and I cannot do it, right? If you reflect and you think back, there is a moment where that switch happens, right? And when our bodies are hungry or tired, they need food or sleep, right? And there are things that we can do to override that. And there are things that naturally happen in our bodies that make us feel like we're crazy, but we're not. Like physiologically, hormone levels are changing within our body that are making us feel different ways. And it's easy to say, I don't know why I can't make a decision before I need to eat food. It's easy to like turn that back on ourselves, right? And be like, I don't know why I can't just do it. Well, you can't just do it because the hormones in your body have just changed, okay? And our brains and our bodies are very connected, and the mind of our brain, right? And the mind of our gut, they can talk back and forth. Like one can control the other, right? The brain can control the body. The hormones in our body can control our brain, right? And so when the body is saying, I'm hungry, I'm hungry, I'm hungry, I'm hungry, we're releasing hormones, right? That then goes to the brain and says, we're not going to focus on anything else because we're hungry, right? Like that's our number one focus right now is eating food. So if we're taking all of that focus on needing to eat food, of course, it makes sense that the rest of our brain that makes other decisions kind of gets shut off. Right? And it doesn't mean that anything is wrong with us. It doesn't mean that we're crazy, right? Basically, what's happening is our blood sugar has probably tanked, right? We have different hormones that are increasing, different hormones that are decreasing. We are going to talk in a second about one called ghrelin, which I like to say makes us turn into little gremlins sometimes, right? But it's just a hunger hormone. And when those things happen, it's normal that our body is now focusing on something very primitive, right? Very survival. I need food because I am hungry. And so it makes sense that we have a hard time making decisions in that moment. And it's not something we need to beat ourselves up over if we can just become aware of it and eat some food.
Oh, I feel like a listener today. Like for those of you listening, like I'm just so excited for you to learn so much of it because you're right, Maggie. We don't know. And I love that you're like, I'm not going to go into the deep science because like we don't necessarily need it. We just need the everyday language to be like, oh yeah, this is what's happening. And this is why I feel out of control or unable to make a decision. And the simplest example I can give is like, we know that advice that has been passed down, and usually we're not big on like advice, but this one seems to be tried and true. So I guess this could become a universal thing we can all kind of trust, but like, don't go to the grocery store when you're hungry because you end
Yes.
up overbuying and making decisions. And that's a simple example of somebody, whoever came up with that advice, and it's been passed down through everybody. It seems to be a universal thought of we know that we're not going to make the same decisions when we're in a state of hunger. And so I love that you're sharing this because when we need moments and we feel like, why can't I just like get it together or make this decision or trust myself to do X? It's like usually we have to take a moment, regulate ourselves, which I can't wait to talk about the emotional part too, and physically tend to our needs. That's what I really hear you saying is like, there are things going on physically and our bodies need us to trust ourselves and tend to the needs that we have so that we can get back to functioning properly or as close to properly as possible. Because I don't know if I'm really functioning properly out here in these worlds, but
Yeah.
doing my best. I'm being funny.
Yeah. Yeah. But like functioning more optimally for the goal we're trying to achieve at the moment, right? Like
Yeah.
whatever it is we're trying to do at that moment, we can get a little bit more in line, right? So there's two things I want to talk about. One is the little ghrelin, the hunger hormone. Okay. And we're just going to read from Google for a second so you can get a picture of what's going on here. But Google says ghrelin, often called the hunger hormone, is produced in the stomach and increases when you're hungry, signaling your brain to eat, right? We just talked about that. Hangry, I asked it about like ghrelin and hangry. Hangry is a state of irritability or angry when hunger or angry when hungry, and is often linked to ghrelin's impact on appetite and energy levels. When ghrelin levels are high, your body releases more of this hormone, prompting increased hunger and potentially leading to the hangry feeling. So what's happening is you're hungry, right? So your body's releasing ghrelin, this hormone, and then as it releases more of that hormone and you don't eat, more and more and more of it comes out, only perpetuating the quote unquote problem, right? Which is the hunger leading to, for me, hangry levels, and then irritability, inability to make decisions, right? So you are not crazy, okay? Your body is trying to get you to eat something, okay? Now, with this being said, and I'm curious what you think about what I'm about to say, and then we can transition into like more of the psychology part. But just like I said before, our brains have impact on our bodies and our bodies have impact on our brains, right? So in this instance with the ghrelin, our body, our gut is saying, hello, we need food. Hello, we need food, right? Hello, we need food. Okay. And that's what we're focusing on. We have the ability, depending on how well we've taken care of ourselves lately, right? We have the ability sometimes to be able to recognize that, become aware of it, and say, I hear you. I know I need to eat something, and I still have to make this decision right now. So we're not trying to say that this is an all or nothing, right? We're not saying, oh, I'm hungry, so that's an excuse for me to just be miserable and not make any decisions. Like, that's not what we're trying to say here, right? I'm trying to say that it's normal that you feel that way because your body's trying to alert you of something. So if you have the opportunity to eat, yeah, do that before you make the decision. Great idea. And sometimes we don't have that opportunity. And this is when we have to use the power of our mindset, right? To maybe override what our body is trying to say to do what's best for us in that moment. I'm really curious what you think about that.
I love that layer that you brought into it because I think any of you listening, like I want to speak to you directly for a second. You're like, oh yeah, duh. Like a lot of that makes sense, right? Like you're hungry, you're hangry. We all have been there and we're like, oh yeah, we just got to eat something. And we know that life's, and sometimes it's just happening and whatever it may be. And we don't always have time to like, well, I shouldn't say that. In a perfect world, we'd always be able to make time, or everybody else would understand that we need to make time like that. However, we know that there's certain like situations where like we just have to do what we have to do, right? And so I think that's a really important piece. And I think we have to find ways of reflecting, which Maggie is the queen of reflecting. So I'm going to use some of her language here. I just had a miserable day in back-to-back meetings. I was starving. I had no food on me. I needed something to eat and I felt angry, irritable, like all the things, right? And next time I need to make sure that there are always snacks in my office. I need to make sure there's always snacks in my car. I need to make sure that wherever I'm going to be, I'm kind of like a toddler. We got snacks in the bag, right? And so that is something that I think is really, yeah, Maggie's like me too.
Yeah.
And I am too now because I used to be someone, and I think this is a worth it, like quick second tangent, that in a lot of ways, that's what our society, especially in the United States, thrives on is fast and convenient food. So fast food. And I'm one who participates in that sometimes. And I'm trying so hard to participate in it a lot less so that, because, well, here's the thing. I have all of these beautiful intentions of weight loss, right? And these beautiful intentions of feeding my body nutrient dense foods and all these good things, right? When I get really, really, really hungry, all of that logic goes out the window and you'll find me in the fast food line. So when I'm in like a regulated state and I'm full and I'm not starving and ghrelin is not growling at me, if you will, my stomach's not growling, I can make sound regulated decisions of I'm going to go have today for lunch. I had a turkey wrap. It was delicious. It was perfect. It was exactly what my body needed, right? But if I was out and about all day, or if I was in meetings and I didn't pack a lunch, or I didn't do this or that, when I get into that state where I'm starving, I'm going to make decisions a lot of times that don't serve my goals. And will they still happen? Absolutely. But here's the thing. I want to have fast food or all of these things when I really want them. Like when a McDonald's French fry sounds amazing, I want to go have a McDonald's French fry. right? And when I don't, I want to have snacks in my car, like a meat stick, or it's kind of hard now that it's so hot, but like nuts or something in my car that's not going to melt, hopefully. And be able to make those decisions that serve my goals. So then when I really want something, I go and have it. So that tangent was me saying that we've all been there of we make decisions differently when we are in unregulated places, especially with, it sounds silly, like hunger, but like it's not so silly. We got to eat. It happens every single day for the most part, except for you wild and amazing people who can fast. I don't know how anybody does that, but for me, I'm eating every single day. I don't know how.
Yeah. Cause did a 4-day fast recently. He did 2 of them actually in the last couple of weeks. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy.
The amount of like props that I have for like you are a nice human. You
Right.
didn't like run people over with your car, like hanger, like oh my gosh, I don't. That's an incredible thing. So I'm wondering, Maggie, I want to like tie this into some of the psych pieces, but I also want to make sure that you feel like we did the physiological part justice.
Yeah, I definitely do. I think that if you have questions on this, let us know. Like we're happy to, do this again and dive deeper into it. But the only other thing that I want to mention, which might help transition, is that what I was talking about with ghrelin or food, right? Or being hungry in the moment, making a decision in the moment. That's a very acute thing. Like it's happening right now in this instance, right? Physiologically, when we're taking care of our physical body, the more we do good things, I'll say like put deposits in the bank, right? The more we eat well balanced meals, the more we sleep well, the more we are prepared with snacks, right? And don't let our blood sugar completely tank, the easier it's going to be to handle those acute moments when they happen, right? So if we are constantly not taking care of our bodies, those moments are going to feel like they're happening all the time and we feel out of control, right? So the more we can take care of our bodies through well-balanced meals, sleep, all of the other water, good things that we talk about that are good for us, the easier it's going to be to handle those acute stressful moments. Okay. And when we take really good care of our bodies, it helps keep our cortisol levels, or the stress hormone, right? It helps keep that a little bit lower, a little bit more balanced. Of course, it's going to increase. We all have stress in our lives, but it's not going to be out of control all the time, making it feel impossible to make decisions at all times, right? There'll be one-off moments where you catch yourself and you're like, crap, I waited too long to eat, or I didn't sleep enough, or whatever. And we can handle that, right? It's not going to feel like it's happening all the time. And so that's something to just keep in mind, is like, if you're noticing yourself with our funny title, like trust yourself, but only after you eat a snack. Like if that's your normal every single day, we've got to look at our baseline health and how we're taking care of ourselves, because it shouldn't be like that.
And this feels very in some ways applicable to me and my life. And for those of you listening who are like, okay, yeah, like I really do. I want to really like resonate with you for a second of like, this is something that within the last year has become a big priority for me. And so for those of you listening who are like, gosh, yeah, like I think in some ways, like my regulation and like my ability to show up or make decisions and trust myself, like I haven't always valued that. I personally never valued my own wellness to this extent until I was kind of forced to, because now in the therapeutic setting in here, other people's wellness is not dependent on mine, because that's not the case at all. But basically, in order for me to show up to help them with their wellness, I have to have wellness. I have to feel well. If I don't feel well, I'm not going to be a great therapist that day. I'm not going to be able to show up and give my clients all of my attention and presence and what they need, because I'm too focused on when am I going to eat again, or I'm so dysregulated, or I'm tired, or whatever it may be. So it is never too late. I just wanted to make sure that I say that part, that like if you're hearing this and this resonates with you, it has taken me up until this point to really start to focus on every day wellness. And I say that with an emphasis because to me, I did the quote unquote wellnessy things. And if you asked me a few years ago, I would say that I thought I was doing the wellnesses because I had the face mask and I took baths and all these things, right? Or I checked into a spa every now and again. But the everyday stuff, the walks, the eating breakfast, the eating balanced meals, the making sure I'm sleeping, those were the things that I didn't give as much consistency to. And so really wanted to share that for anybody who's like, yeah, same. We got this. We're going to go everyday wellness, slow and steady. And so now I want to share a little bit about the emotional piece and how this can tie into my work in the therapy setting. Is this just goes to show you how important regulation and simple everyday wellness habits are. And I'm going to tell you how. So I'm going to give you a scenario. We have a client coming in, or I've been this client in the past. Client will come in and they are wanting to process a history of trauma. Like there's some traumatic event or a series of traumatic events from their life that they really want to go back in and process. Some people do it, which I'm not certified in. But a lot of people will do EMDR or whatever it may be to kind of help themselves through certain like aspects around healing, whatever that experience may have been, and hopefully improve their quality of life, right? So that is a very common reason why we seek therapy. And for those clinicians who are doing trauma-informed care and doing it in the way that evidence-based practices show us, you are making sure that your client is well regulated before you start working on the trauma itself. And so for those of you listening who are hearing this, it is so important enough to the fact that we can't do additional therapeutic work until our basic needs and wellness needs are met. And so that just brings a little more of like an umph to why this is so important, that in order to process stressful or traumatic things that we all experience in some form at some time in our life, and sometimes multiple times, our baseline of being able to regulate and take care of ourselves is critical to being able to help us have success in these settings of processing the heavy shit that comes with life. And unfortunately, a lot of times not by our own choosing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it's important to recognize what you just said, that even if we are looking to handle really difficult things that have happened in our life and process them, we still have to have our baseline of wellness somewhat under control, right? We can't dive into healing things without our baseline of wellness being somewhat regulated, right? We don't have to be perfect. We're never going to be perfect, right? But we have to have some baseline of our basic needs being taken care of. The same can be said about if we want to grow and improve and tackle new goals, right? Like we're not going to be able to do those things sustainably if our baseline wellness is not under control, right? So whether it doesn't matter which direction we're looking to go, if we're looking to tackle both of those things, right? Our basic human needs have to be managed, and we have to provide them for ourselves, right? At this point in our lives, unfortunately, our parents are not providing those for us anymore. It is up to us to make sure that they are met. Yes, we can find support outside of us, right? Through therapy, or maybe it is our parents, friends, family, social dynamics, right? Maybe it's financial assistance, whatever it is that's helping us get those basic needs met. But we are still ultimately responsible for figuring out how to do that. So I'd love to hear from you about these different needs and how we can make sure that we are covering them so that way we can dive into either deeper levels of healing or deeper levels of growth.
I'm so happy you asked this, Maggie, because it's so important that we understand this. And I'm going to say one last thing before I dive into it. I'm actually going to pull up the pyramid in real time as we talk. I love to reference, especially in the therapeutic setting, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So for any of you who've taken like Psych 101 or something, you probably know that, or maybe you've just heard of it in other settings. But it's basically like a framework from Abraham Maslow, who created like basically a visualization of like, these are typically our baseline needs. And then you kind of grow from there. For the purpose of today, I'm just going to stick with the physiological needs. But I want to say this. At times, I will have clients who can feel a little frustrated sometimes, and not in a bad way or a negative way, just in a way of, I want to feel better so badly and I want to just get to like the stuff, right? The tools, the prompts, the treatments, because sometimes the treatments can be more intense than others depending on the setting. But when we actually look at it and we have to look at, are we walking? Are we showering? Are we drinking water? Are we eating protein? What are the things that are important in our lives at the base level? Because once those are met, then we can kind of go up the chain and see, do we need additional support or resources? That's a beautiful thing. So let's start at the very bottom. So this is based off of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And from what the pyramid's showing here, we need air, which we've got air. I don't think it's always the cleanest. Got to work on that. Climate change. Everybody go watch Kiss the Ground and Common Ground, because that's a very big passion of mine. But we need clean air. But for the most part, we have livable air if you live here in the States and pretty much anywhere here on Earth. Water. Most of us have water. We understand that, clean drinking water, that's also something that's really important. But air, water, food. And from the basics of this needs, that just means food. But in an ideal world, it would be nutrient dense food. It doesn't mean that it has to be perfect or perfectly organic or grown in your backyard. We're all trying our best here, but food of substance that has protein, vegetables, things that are going to nourish our bodies. Sleep is one of the basic ones here, making sure that we are getting sleep, and ideally quality sleep. I can't even tell you the amount of times that I have spent weeks just focusing on sleep routines with clients. And it may seem like, oh boy, that's a lot of weeks and sessions on a sleep routine. But when clients can say, like, my sleep has improved, those things can trickle into improved levels of anxiety or improved nervous system regulation. And so those things cannot be underestimated, if you will. Another one is clothing. And so making sure that we are warm and we have a roof over our heads, and these basic needs are really, really fundamental. And we know from the bottom of our hearts that they are not always a given. And it's a very unfortunate thing to be a human and know that a lot of these things are not givens. But the way our society is set up, it tends to be that way. So we have to do what we can with the resources that we have to try our best to meet our basic needs. And then from there, add in all the fun things that we want to do. But in terms of regulation and self-trust, we really meant it when we said a nap and maybe, a snack and maybe a nap.
Yes.
Or vice versa.
Yes. Both, all of the above, everything included, right? Thank you for sharing that. I think it's important that we stick here for a moment. And what you just said is, like, we can't underestimate this. We can't overlook it, right? We can't just say, oh, I'm fine. Yeah, like, let's just like dive into whatever the other thing is that we want to do. I know you want results. I know you want to see change immediately about the end thing, right? Whether it's fitness clients or girls on my soccer team, like whatever it is, it's like, I just want to win the game. Yeah, well, we have to learn how to play defense one-on-one, or else you're never going to win a game, right? Like, it's the same, it's kind of like the same concept here, okay? We can't get to the end result unless we focus on the fundamentals. And here, when it comes to trusting ourselves, being able to hear ourselves, our basic needs such as these need to be met in order for that to come through, right? So if you want to be able to hear yourself, be able to feel when a decision is right or maybe not right, right? Be able to feel connected to your identity, the things that you enjoy, right? Like, not feeling like we're constantly searching outside of ourselves for the answers to things, right? We can find them within ourselves. If you want the ability to do that, we have to make sure we are focusing on these things and not just saying, yeah, they're good enough. Like, yeah, it's okay. Because these are the keys that we have to focus on all the time that unlock that ability to hear ourselves, to trust ourselves, to know ourselves.
Mm-hmm. So much of me at a younger age needed to hear that, because it is so easy when we are in distress or discomfort or suffering with anxiety or wanting to be in a certain place and we're not, insert any discomfort of choice. it is so tempting and easy and normal, right? Very normal to be like, I just want this to go away right now, right? I just want this to go away right now. And there are and we say this all the time, but we gotta I gotta say it. There are a lot of companies and businesses and products who their whole marketing strategy is to tell you your problem will be solved as soon as you have X. This is why you're suffering. It's because you don't have X. It's because you don't have Y, right? And it is a perfect way to run a capitalistic society, right? It works. I have purchased way more things than I have ever needed in my entire life. And this is not to say that we can't buy things. Of course we can buy things. Buying things is fun, right? We hope, one day when we sell some things, let's go everybody. Let's buy some things and have a beautiful community.
Yeah.
And what we're selling is that you got to listen to yourself. So for example, and I'm just going to say this, when we're selling X in the future, right? Whether it be merch or sweatshirts or live shows, whatever it may be, I hope that every single one of you listening would be able to listen to yourself and regulate of, I'm in the season to do this and I'm going to do it and I'm going to make an investment. Let's do it. And for those of you who weren't, I would hope that you'd participate in any ways that you could and trust yourself to know that this is the place that you will get to. And I know that's a very silly example in some ways, but that's truly the honesty that we have here of we have to regulate ourselves so we can trust ourselves so we don't fall for anything.
Yes. Yes. This will have to be another episode because we cannot go down that tangent right now. We cannot. We'll be here for 8 hours. Okay?
Grab us, Maggie, before we go. Grab us before I go.
We're coming back. Okay. So we just talked about baseline physiological needs that we need, right? We have talked about that we need to do them over the long term, right? Consistently. We need to practice them every day, right? That's how we are going to build a baseline, a foundation of wellness for us to be able to operate optimally in our lives, right? I want to ask you, okay, we have those things sorted out, right? Now, it happened. You're hangry. You've got to make a decision. You're in a pickle, right? You have to do something. You don't have a snack. You can't take a nap. You're in the moment. What do you do?
This is, I think she's asking me, everybody.
I am asking you. Yeah, sorry.
I just felt all the pressure very quickly of oh shit. No, it's such a good question, right? Because it's so real and it's going to freaking happen. It's going to happen to me. I can have all the snacks on deck. I am still going to get to a place where I'm unregulated, I'm hungry, I'm tired, and I got to do something, right? That is just my favorite example of that is new parent mode activated. You got a newborn. Nobody, you have to just all hands on deck. It pushes you as a human to expand yourself to a place of things aren't ideal right now. They're not perfect, but we can do this. We can do love you, Glenn, and hard things. We're coming to see you next week. So one of my favorite things that we can do is a simple regulation moment where we literally have to find one moment to ourselves. This could be going to the bathroom, okay? Going to the bathroom, sitting with yourself for a second. I can't tell you the amount of times in my life that I've gone into the bathroom and looked myself in the mirror and given myself a little baby pep talk because that's what I needed. So I don't think there's many places in life where if you need to make a decision boom, pressure's on, it's so intense, but you can't go to the bathroom first. I don't know what kind of work you're doing or what kind of environments you're in, but it sounds a little hostile. So for those of you who are beautiful, military grade in situations,
Or
I don't have it.
Or something. Yeah, that's
Hospitals.
A separate thing.
Separate thing. I think there's somebody who has the answer for you, and it's not me, and I'm not going to pretend to be that person.
Yeah, and this is a good clarification, though. We're talking non-life-threatening, non-emergency decisions that have all of a sudden felt like they have high levels of pressure and emergency, right? So that is specifically what we are talking about right now. Okay.
Yes. When we are not in those moments and we have a second, I love to go look myself in the mirror quickly, because it is a moment to truly reflect. Like, as weird as this may sound, it's a tool that you can use where you're truly reflecting. It's a mirror looking back at you. I want you to look in the mirror, take a deep breath. Even if you don't believe it yet, say, I trust you. You're talking to yourself. You are looking in the mirror. I'm going to pretend right now that Maggie is me. Okay? It's a little odd, but I'm going to do it. I trust you. You may not make the right decision. You may make the wrong one. You may make the right one. You may make one that you feel indifferent about. But I trust you. So whatever you do, let's do this. And those words to yourself in the mirror, I get like the feels when I say that.
Yes.
Like, it gets me like all tingly inside of like, yes, you can fucking do it. I don't know what you're doing. And I hope it's not life-threatening, because please, I don't want that liability. Like, there is somebody who's way more qualified to explain what to do in those moments. But for my everyday folk who are just out here doing life and doing our best and all the things, look yourself in the freaking eyes and say, I trust you. Whatever happens right now, big, small, right, wrong, I trust you. And we're going to figure it out no matter what. This is not life or death. Thank God I'm not a brain surgeon. Thank God I didn't go into those things, because they must have very specialized training for very, very big things like that, because the everyday people like us, we got to trust ourselves one decision at a time, even if it's wrong. Look yourself in the eyes. You got this. I trust you. We can do this.
I love that.
It gives me such
like fired up.
I know, it gets me like so in my feels of like picturing people doing this, like picturing those of you listening, like, please do this and please come tell us how it went. Every single one of you, please. We don't always demand this, but I am demanding this week. We can see how many of you listen. We can see how many of you listen. And there's enough of you that we can get a DM. I want you to come to our Instagram, You Can Trust Yourself Podcast. I want you to tell us how it went when you looked yourself in the mirror and said, I trust you. You're trusting yourself. How powerful is that technique?
It's so powerful. I love it so much. Okay. Okay. Seriously. I know what's going on in your head right now. Okay. You're like, one of two things is happening. You're like, oh yeah, that's such a good idea. And then that's it. Right. Or this woman is batshit crazy. Right? Like, one of those two things is happening right now. One of the two of them. All right. And what I need you
I love that.
is I need you to just try. Okay? I need you to just try. I was listening to a podcast episode earlier today. It was Chris Harder and Lori Harder interviewing Dean Graziosi. So he's like Tony Robbins' business partner.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And he said something that really stuck out to me. He said, sometimes we have to be the oddball. Sometimes we have to be the one that's doing the thing that seems really weird or crazy, or we're like the overly optimistic one, or the one who's unfazed. We have to be the oddball, right? So right now, I need you to be the oddball. You don't even have to tell anyone, right? You're in the bathroom by yourself, okay? Like, you don't even have to tell anyone. But I need you to be the oddball, and I need you to try it, because your life is going to change, okay? Just like you said, Meg, even if you don't believe it, right? We don't want to say things like, I'm going to make the right decision. We don't want to say that, because that's not necessarily true, right? We want to say something that is neutral, but positive, right? So I love how you said, like, I trust you. We can handle this, right? I love, like, we've got this. I got this. Like, I can do this, or I can handle this one thing. Whatever the outcome is, we'll figure it out. Right? So that we're not putting pressure on ourselves, because we already have enough pressure, right? We already have enough pressure to feel like we have to do it right. So we don't want to do that. We want to say, we can do this, right? I trust you. I've got this, right? Things like that, because then it's helping us take that next step forward. It's helping us feel a little bit more grounded, right? Yes. And it also takes away some of the pressure of like the whole big picture, right? We were talking about this earlier today, but like, it's easy to get wrapped up in like, oh my God, this decision is going to be a domino effect that affects my entire life, right? And it's like, okay, hold on 1 second. We need to focus on just this one and the outcome of that right now, right? That's it. That's all we got to do. And you got this. You can do it,
Mm.
right? The one thing I want to add that I like to do is just take a deep breath with it. Like I will do this in front of people now. Like I don't care. I know I'm the oddball. It's fine. But like I'll be like, hold on 1 second. Like just give me 1 minute.
Mm.
I'll like close my eyes, take a deep breath, or I'll just like do that. And sometimes people be like, "You good?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good now," because I just took a deep breath. Right now, I'm good. And so don't be afraid to throw that in there too, because it helps with the connection to the body and helping the
Mm.
body settle down a little bit.
Yes. Yes, that is, I love that. I love that phrase of like sometimes we got to be the oddball in little ways, whatever that may be, because being the oddball is typically authentic. And
Yes.
God, do we need more authenticity in this world? Just authentic moments. I had one, I promise, no big tangents. I feel like, guys, the constant like dynamic that you're going to hear is like Maggie keeping us focused and Meg like trying to like run away somewhere else. So whenever you hear me saying that, that's all I'm doing is I'm like, don't worry, Maggie, I promise it'll be a quick one. When I go to my workout classes, there's this woman there who, when we do the treadmill time, it's usually about half of the class is like on the treadmill, half the class is the weight floor. And she dances on the treadmill. It's the most fabulous thing I've ever seen in my entire life. The music at Orange Theory is great, especially at my place. I don't know if they're all like this. The music is just vibing all the time. And this woman is vibing harder than the music. And it is the best thing that I've ever seen in my entire life. So she, from what I can gather, and I've talked to her about it afterwards, that is how she does her cardio. That is what makes it fun. That is what makes it worth it for her to go, is strutting her stuff, getting her arms going. I mean, she is the vibe of all vibes, and she inspires me so much. And I can't bring myself to do it with her. I want to so bad. Every single time I'm there, I'm like, Meg, just do it. Wave your hands. You know, sometimes I'll do a little something, but like her authenticity to be the oddball inspires me so much. And I want to really, this will probably be the last thing that I share, Maggie, and then you are free to share anything you want to close this out. But when we honor what we need, such as a nap, such as a snack, such as dancing on the treadmill, we are honoring ourselves. And it makes me think of one of my favorite quotes in the whole world for anybody who's seen Coach Carter, and the scene in Coach Carter where they are talking about, like, as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously let others do the same. And I know that's written by somebody. It was a poem, and I'm so sorry I'm forgetting your name. But that part of like, when we let our authenticity out, and that can be in small moments of, just like Maggie said, she's in a meeting and she's like, hold on 1 second. Or, hold on, everybody, I'm just going to grab a snack. I'm just going to grab a snack while we do this. Or, I'll be back. Actually, I'm going to, I won't be available for an hour in between this call. So if anybody's trying to call me, I'll be taking a nap. Whatever it is, honoring ourselves and trusting ourselves and then doing that thing. We think a lot of times that everybody's like, oh, wow, taking a snack. Da, da, da. Half the time, it's inspiring the rest of us to be like, yeah, thanks for putting yourself first. Thanks for regulating. Thanks for not taking your hanger out on the rest of us here at this meeting. Right? It gives us all permission that, sure, we have to work, but let's remember, and I got to stop right here, I promise, because I'll go on a tangent and I'm not going to. When we are in a culture and a society that runs based on us working our booties off, and we don't have our wellness too, why do we think our burnout rates are so high? Why do we think that our anxiety, depression, health issues? We are not a very healthy society. Let's just say that, right? And this isn't meant to shame or anything like that. We're not a very healthy society overall. So us taking little moments such as our snack, our breath, our pep talk in the mirror, and our dancing on the treadmill, we are starting that chain with one another of I matter, and I trust myself to matter, and my wellness matters. That's all I have for you all today. I love you all very much, and I hope that you take the most beautiful care of yourselves and trust yourself with whatever the heck that means every single day.
I love that so much. That was very inspiring. Thank you for closing out on that. I don't really have much to add. I would like you though, I know you're listening, and I know you're thinking about talking to yourself in the mirror still, okay? I know you're thinking about it, so I want you to actually do it. That is your homework. You need to go do it, and then there's plenty of places you can let us know how it went, okay? You can find us on Instagram. You can leave a comment, a DM, okay? If you want it to be public, comment on a video. If you don't want it to be public, send us a message, okay? You can do the same thing on TikTok, okay? Or if you really want extra brownie points, leave it as a review on whatever platform you're listening. Okay, so if you're on Apple Podcast, give it a little 5 stars and then a review. I loved this episode. I looked myself in the mirror and it went like blah, 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 blah. Okay, let us know.
Yes.
Spotify, same thing. Or YouTube. Okay, if you're watching on YouTube, leave a little, give it a little like, right? We like it. And then we leave a comment and we say, what happened? Okay, so that is your homework. Go do those things. Come let us know, because I promise your life is going to change. And we don't like to promise things that much, okay? But this is one that we can promise. So with that, that's that. We will be back next week with another episode. I'm losing my words of You Can Trust Yourself, so it's time to go. We'll see you later. Love you so much. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of You Can Trust Yourself with Meg and Maggie. Our mission is to leave you with encouragement and tools to nurture your ability to trust yourself. If you found this episode valuable, don't forget to subscribe and please share it with a friend. Then take a moment to leave us a 5-star rating and review. Your support helps our show grow, and for that we are extremely grateful. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel where you can watch the episodes. Till next week, lots of trust and love, Meg and Maggie.